Welcome to the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we tackle life's inevitable challenges, from navigating mountain bike trails to overcoming business hurdles and forging deeper connections with pets and people. It's easy to find yourself tangled in the weeds, but we're here to help with insights and strategies that'll get you out of the weeds. Our goal is to boost your performance in both sports and everyday life by sharing essential skills that we've learnt along the way. Through tales of our entrepreneurship journey, thrilling biking adventures, and fostering meaningful relationships, your hosts, Natasha, Lockey, and Ginny, Branden, will guide you on a journey that's not only enjoyable, but also inspiring. Join us to gain confidence that you need to navigate the trails of life. Hello and welcome to Riding in the Weeds, episode 66. You are here with Ginny and Tash, and this is our quarterly review that we have been doing this year, talking about our goals. So pull out a pen and paper, follow along with us. If you've listened to our previous ones and made notes, even just in your head, about the things that you're wanting to bring into your life, this is our opportunity to review and then adjust, or even just think about what we're wanting to do as we head into the last quarter of the year. It's really important to do this because what happens is we don't think we've gotten anywhere, but when you actually sit down and review, you actually see that, yeah, you're not completely off track. And then you can also bring yourself back onto the right track. So hold on tight. Here we go. I'm Natasha Lockey. I am a life and bike performance coach, all about allowing you to step into the mindfulness of where you are in your life and figuring out where you want to go. Because quite often you might actually be exactly where you want to be. It's just really how you're thinking about it that is throwing you off the track. And of course, my amazing co-host, Ginny Branden, who is an animal communicator. She's all about connecting you with your pets, helping you with your relationship, and allowing you to understand how your relationship with yourself, relationship with those around you, relationship with your pets really reflects on everything else that's going on in your world. And she brings the most amazing perspectives into all of this. And is also the reason why we are doing this today, because I have been very resistant to dive into the review every time. Should we do the review today? Can we hold off on that episode?
Oh, I love it. I love it. You're right. You have been very resistant to this, but guess what we discovered when we looked back at our notes? That it is better than you thought it was. So I think this all speaks to that idea that you've talked about so many times about making sure that we are comparing our progress to where we came from and not our end goal. Because both of us discovered in reviewing our notes that we're actually doing better than we thought we might be. So, yeah, I think that's a great place to start. So, what do we want to celebrate right now?
Well, I actually just in that I'm going to celebrate the idea of having a friend, an accountability buddy. I don't want to use the word accountability buddy, but having someone that you roll through life with, that you share stuff along the way, because that person listens and that person is there and they can point stuff out when maybe you don't see it, which makes it easier to celebrate things, because when you're kind of like, hey, I don't think I've gone anywhere. They're like, yeah, but I've been listening. And in fact, you have done this and you have done this and you've done this. And we got back on track over here. So I'm going to celebrate Ginny to start with, because I really, really appreciate having somebody, my co pilot, that allows me to show up to the podcast and see that that voice in my head might be a little bit off when it tells me I'm really not going anywhere. So that's where I'm going to start. What about you?
I agree with you because this podcast has really helped me be more present with a lot of different things, including my business, including just a general awareness. And it's helping me to tie things together, which is such a useful thing in the bigger picture. Because, like you've talked about before, when you think about things in silos, we get trapped in that sort of mindset very easily. I also want to celebrate that this is basically the beginning of season 3. So we have now been shouting into the ether for 2 years. And our first year was 25 total episodes. That meant we started our second season at number 26, and we are now at 66. So that is a pretty decent improvement over the quantity that we were able to produce in the first year. And I am loving how we are able to just continue striving for the consistency and continue striving to show up in a way that, I don't know about you, but it feels very organic. It feels very authentic. It is definitely messy, but I think that's the human condition. So that's okay with me. I'm all right with that at this point. And I'm enjoying in the process. I have so much fun. I look forward to this. I look forward to connecting with you and sharing the crazy, wild things that happen in our lives together. The whole idea of getting out of the weeds really stems from our passions, but how much our passions are being able to inform the rest of our life. And that's what I love about it, is how do we connect all the dots together? And I'm just celebrating the fact that we keep showing up and we've turned it into something fun.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's funny, I was watching a movie the other day. I don't know if you've watched the movie. I'm not like throwing this out as a review that you should watch this movie because it was a little crazy, but it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I know Ginny hasn't watched it because she doesn't watch TV, but it was really about, I don't really know what it was about, but there was just this absolute chaos for like, it was a 3-hour movie, I think. And it was chaotic. I didn't know what I was signing up for. But at the end of the day, it really was exactly like what you're saying. It was about when you're present in the right now, then where you are is absolutely perfect. However, when we look at the things we could have been, or the things we could have done, or the things that we could have become, the character, she's a great singer. So she could have been a singer. And there's like these universes that get created off of every dream that you don't recognize. And when we live in those universes instead of living in the one that we're actually in, we're unable to create that life that we want right here, right now, and focus on where we are as opposed to being pulled in this chaotic world of wishing we were somewhere else. And so, everything you said, it's like being able to celebrate and being able to look at what's actually happening and see when you're getting stuck in the weeds and being like, oh, okay, if I just make a little adjustment and a little tweak here and a little bit over here, then it will bring me back on track. And when I do my mountain bike coaching, it's not about changing everything. It's not about doing it all at once. It's about noticing, okay, what is one thing that this coach has said to me that I can focus on in a silo and then start to bring it together with the other things. And sometimes you do coaching and you get overwhelmed because there's so many things. But whatever that 1 to 3 things is that sticks out of any learning experience, that's where you actually are right now. And the rest of it can just go over your head. You don't need all of it because all you need to do is just make a little tweak. One of the girls' little tweak was just rotating her hips a little bit more. That's all actually she needed to focus on. And everything else will come in to alignment from focusing on that one thing. On each one of the girls, there was something slightly different that if they just tweak that one little thing, all the algorithm will run and then you'll get down and there'll be another thing to tweak. But until you've tweaked this screw, you don't see where everything else is. So I think for me, so much about this podcast and this relationship is really being able to see all of those little things. So often the topic that we talk about is based on something that has happened in our last week. And it's informed by the experiences that we're having with our pets, with our partners, with our bodies, with our businesses. And from those little lessons, we're like, oh, okay, if I just tweak this one little thing, then it actually will inform a whole lot of other things that are going on in alignment or at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's what the value is of being present, is this has become a catalyst for both of us to have more awareness and have more intentionality through our week and through our day. And when we're able to have the conversations together, then that helps pull it all back together. And I know when we literally just kind of read through our goals at the beginning of the year, we did an episode that was about where we wanted to be and what our ideas were. I'll be super frank with you that I haven't opened that document since quarter 2. At the beginning of this quarter, I haven't looked at it since we did the mid-year episode. And what I like about that is that even still, those things are still percolating in our awareness. They're still there, and we are still working on them without having to directly focus on them constantly. And I feel like that's the best way to approach a lot of goals, particularly self development goals and those things that are not quite as concrete as, like, well, I want to have 1 million subscribers. When you're working on things that are a little bit more beneath the surface, if you focus too hard on them, you won't really achieve your results. But if you don't have any awareness about them at all, you won't achieve any results either. So how do you find that middle ground? To me, that's what staying out of the weeds is the middle ground that avoids both ends of the extreme. And that way you're able to find the balance and continually adjust and adapt on a daily basis. What I'm noticing about this conversation this time compared to, say, the mid-year point or even the beginning of the year is that I'm feeling the season change right now. I'm in the US, so we're getting ready to go into fall. And it was funny because we're recording this a few days after the equinox. And I saw posts and everything about the equinox. I mean, it happens the same day every year, but somehow I'm not always aware of that. And I was like, oh, so that means that like fall's really here. And I was like, I guess that means that the hot weather is really done. We could still get some warm weather, but the way things are shaping up right now, it's not going to go back to what it was. So it's good news, but it was the realization really sunk in that, yeah, we're at the shift now. And so I feel like working towards the end of the year, it's like, how do I want to be present with that change and allow the shift in season to happen and honor that and not think of just like, oh, well, I got to achieve these goals before the end of the year. We're about to hit the end of the year, but allow that to be a little more organic and a little more natural in the ebb and the flow of things.
Yeah, there's so much to being in that surrender of it versus being in the planning of it. And I think there is this very interesting balance that we need to find for ourselves. We were talking about one of the things that Ginny has on her list is around the idea of burnout. And I think there are times, I was kind of giggling. I don't know if we've avoided it, but we've been more aware of it. And so allowing for ourselves to know, okay, this is going to be the sprint and then the sprint's over. And for myself, like I've got this feeling that I've wrapped up a couple of big projects that were going on. The end of my summer's coming. There's a completion happening. But yet at the same time, I'm still doing the same things. They still need to be happening. Nothing's ended yet. And I'm moving into the next phase of whatever it is. And it is so unknown that it's terrifying. I've never been here before. And surrendering to the flow of life and knowing that what is supposed to come next can only be birthed if I allow the space for it. And there are some serious actions I need to take in order to assist the flow to happen. I was just listening to this book and he's allowing the flow of life to happen. So he needs a key person in his business, which he either knows about or doesn't know about, and allowing that it's just going to happen. It doesn't mean he's not out there recruiting, but it means that he's allowing for, without him pushing, that to happen. And I think that it's when we push and when we make it hard, that's when it feels difficult. And that's when the burnout comes. For Ginny, at the beginning, we were talking about taking smaller steps, breaking things down to make more progress. I have definitely seen you do those things. And as you went into that 2 weeks of crazy, you really embodied the smaller steps. Balancing consistency and adaptability was another thing that you had here. So within that, it was creating structures that allow for that flexibility and that consistency together. You've done that. And we've done that with our podcast. It used to be Tuesday at 11 o'clock that we would record. Now we create a flexibility that makes it work for you, whether it's raining or it's not raining or I'm off doing something. It's creating a structure that actually allows for that. And I have to have that flexibility because on any given day, who knows what's happening in my world. And then you've got those rituals to create focus for productivity at any time with your meditation app. Like, yeah, you've been doing 300 and something days consistently or whatever you're at this point. But over the last year, it has become a ritual versus I just have to keep my streak. And then I don't think you've gone into burnout. I think you've skated through pretty good. And being present, you are so present. And I hear that in your messages. You're definitely way more embodied. You're definitely in a more moment to moment awareness of things. She's got here what tools are needed to feel better from within. The books you read, the different things that you come up with, your mentor, George Cowell, you are present with that and you are taking things on and you are really with the process. And then you've got building muscle with capacity for more awareness. And I mean, you definitely have more awareness around what I'm up to in life. So I'm assuming that you've probably got awareness about what you're up to. So,
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you reflecting all of that back to me because it is so hard to see for ourselves sometimes when we are mired in our own stuff, then it's easy to miss those things. I don't know. I agree with you that I have not gone into quote full burnout like I have in the years past. And that's what has gotten me contemplating like, okay, maybe this is a season thing. Maybe I need to be addressing for myself a seasonality to my work that will allow for more room because summertime, I think for both of us gets crazier. It's hot here and there's more work to be done. There's mowing that has to be done darn near constantly. There's a lot more opportunities to be outside because it is warmer. And so there's more demands on my time that sort of shift and change with the seasonality. So, how could I embrace that so that maybe I don't end up feeling like there's too much on my plate? How can I shift some things around and just acknowledge that? What if that's just okay? What if that is just normal and how I choose to run my life and therefore my business? I think that's what I'm really looking into for the rest of the year and then into next year is how can I continue to expand that and really embrace it even more so that I allow more room so that I don't hit the point where I'm overwhelmed and exhausted. Because that's the point where it's not fun anymore. And when it gets to there, then you're not going to be productive and you're not going to be useful both for yourself and for the people around you. Your capacity is just so greatly diminished at that point. That might not be the true definition of burnout, but you're on the road. So, what can you do to not make that turn or not make that detour? Are there things that I've wanted to work on because they take time. Like you can't just flip awareness on. It doesn't work like that. You may have aha moments here and there, but that's not something that you can just do all at once. And so, yeah, these have been things that I've been working on. And you're right, even though I haven't been aware of them, like I said, we honestly have not looked at this document in 3 months. And despite that, these things are coming up for me. So, the books that I am finding are just coming into my world because I set those intentions at the beginning of the year and we have revisited them periodically. And that is what's sort of keeping things coming in, even though we're not staring at the document every single day. We don't consult it on a daily or weekly basis at all, but yet that stuff is still flowing in. And I think there are going to be some pretty big changes in my world that are coming down based on the stuff that I'm just learning now that I'm going to integrate and then I'll end up sharing as a result so that we can make things easier for everybody. Because that's really what we want, right? We want ease, we want comfort.
yeah.
And I think that's just the whole goal. So, all right, let's hit your goals so far. Your first one was about building routines. And originally in the beginning of the year, you talked about walking for 20 minutes and then doing one thing to move yourself forward in your goals and using your zones to organize your day. What I love about this one is I think that you're doing it without realizing you're doing it, which like the things that you mentioned for me, like I think that's the best way to do things is when you don't even know that you've actually integrated that and that it's a part of your norm because you have a very solid morning routine now. And I know you still do your walk. It might not be like early in the morning, but I know you do your walk because you usually take Tiaki out. So that is very much a part of your system now. And I think you're up to, you should be at 100 days. I think I'm actually at 200, and I think you're at about 100 straight. So that's pretty awesome. You had on here about your work sessions and co-working, which I know that for part of the summer that has kind of fallen by the wayside, but you are still doing focused work. So you may not be using the structure of co-working like on FocusMate specifically, but you are still working on having focused work time. And again, summer for both of us is a tough one because it is a little bit more unpredictable, and our schedules get a little crazier because of the nature of what we do. So the fact that you've even been able to maintain that on any level, it's becoming part of how you operate now. And I think that's like when you know you've made it, is when it's just a part of your normal operating system. So your last one was about getting strong without burning out. So that burnout theme's coming up for both of us for sure. You're focusing on being more fit, on building muscle, and not necessarily with the goal of losing fat, and to work on your diet. And you are doing all of that. That is very much what has been a part of our conversations, both on the podcast and off, because we frequently talk throughout the week and just update each other on life. And you are very much present with all three of those all the time. It's just your normal. Like, so that's reached that sort of integrated awareness level where you don't have to think about it per se all the time, but yet it's just a part of what you do. That's how you know you've made it, in my opinion, is when you don't have to think about it all the time. That's that unconscious competence at that point. And yeah, there are things you want to continue to do and improve upon, but the large part of that mentality is now at the unconscious competence level. And that I think is really amazing. So you're rocking it. And here we are at quarter 3. So there you go.
It's really interesting because when you're talking, I'm not in my place right now. So I've had to bounce back to Roslyn to do some biking stuff and to support my amazing staff member who, without her, nothing would work. And she was hitting the point where she couldn't cope. So I jumped on an airplane. That magic is a story for another day. But I'm really noticing that I'm like, oh, I'm not doing my workout. I could do my workout and I don't really want to. What's really interesting is my getting strong without burning out is a 10-minute high intensity-ish workout, depending on the day, and then a 10-minute yoga workout and a 10-minute qigong. So there's this hour. I don't know how that takes an hour, but somehow half an hour actually makes an hour. I think every one of them I do a little bit longer, especially if there's whales swimming by. It really does distract me a little bit. But it's been amazing because it's hitting all 3 sections. I'm getting that high intensity. I'm then getting the stretching and that time on the yoga mat, which is transforming myself. The difference between when I was on the yoga mat in June at the bike and yoga retreat and now, it was next level. The amount of difference I felt being on that mat was transformative. I was just absolutely blown away. It was really like, okay, no, I was supposed to be here now, because that was the end of June and it was basically July, August. It was 3 months between one to the next. I highly recommend doing some sort of retreat twice a year that you get a bar, because having that bar, I was teaching at this bike retreat. It wasn't about me. I just happened to get to partake in everything else, and going to one in June and going to one in September and seeing the difference. The only reason I started doing yoga was from the experience that I had on that mat in June, and coming into that space mentally, physically, everything was different. It blew my mind. And then when it comes to the whole zone things, I've been forced to zone my life. Breakfast for the guests happens between 7:30 and 9 a.m. Between 8:30 and 9:30, I have to take the dog for a walk or he freaks out. So that happens. And then hopefully at around 9:30, I'm like, okay, well, now I will do my half an hour of workout that takes an hour. And don't get me on those times because they're a little bit fluctuating, but generally around 10:30, I'm sitting down at my desk. And I have been plugging into FocusMate, partially because I pay for the pro model to give me more than 3 sessions a week. So therefore, I'm like, okay, I got to do 3 to 4 sessions a week so that I'm making this worthwhile. So there's all of these little things that I've started noticing. And then I finish work and I put that away, and we're either serving dinner to guests or we have to take the dog to the park. But during my day, the zones have been forced upon me, which is really cool. I asked for that. And so that's what I've been getting. And yeah, the whole burnout thing, I just want to say, has been really interesting because I would love more time in my day. To get more time in your day, you get up earlier. I get up before 7 o'clock. It just doesn't, it filters into badness later on. So if I get up at 7:30 every morning and do these routines, I can keep getting up at 7:30 every morning and do these routines. As soon as I try and push something too far in one direction or the other, everything falls apart. And this has been the single most hardest lesson of my life to date, I think, has been acceptance of this is where I'm at. This is what is working. Don't force it. Don't push it. Don't break it. Because yes, you could be getting up at 5. You're perfectly capable. You've done it in the past. However, that is not you right now. And that is not what we need to do. We need to get more focused and more present in the available time. And one thing I'd really like to bring in for the coming quarter is being more present in my relationship. Because I'm present for my dog and I'm present for you and I'm present for my business to a certain extent, but I'm not bringing enough presence into my relationship with my husband. We're always together, but that doesn't mean that I'm always present with him. And I've really noticed that. It's like if you're not with somebody all the time, maybe, so we don't need a date night because we're literally together the entire time.
You need an undate night or something.
Yeah, but there needs to be like that time when we do something together. And just the last thing I'll say though is that I started doing this meditation on Insight Timer, and he said that if you do this for 55 days, it will change the brain chemistry. And it's body scan. It's yoga nidra. There's so many body scans, but basically, if you do a body scan for 55 days, the science says it will change the chemistry in your brain to become nicer to yourself and more present. And when we started, I was like, well, I want to do this. I haven't done it yet. All right, Ian, you're doing it with me. And for the first 5 days, he was like, I don't like this. And I'm like, we're doing it anyway because I need to do it. And you're lying next to me in bed. So I haven't done it yet. I'm not doing it without you. I'm away and I found the YouTube. It's on YouTube, David G. Body Scan. He doesn't need the Insight Timer app. And he is doing it without me. It was very important that he got that so he could continue doing it. And yesterday he's like, Tash, I was giving away all of the pain to my breath. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, that's what we do in our daily meditation app. I'm like, this is one of my goals is to meditate with my partner.
I love it. I love how that started as like well, you're here and this is my goal. So you're coming along for the ride. So I think we need to make sure that goes on our list for Q3 as something that you're adding and integrating, working on continuing to level that up. And I like your point though about the presence, because we can be with people and not be present, both with ourselves and with them. And I think that having a better quality of presence when you're with people that you love is something that's very important. So I'm in the middle of a book about all of this. And as I said, I'm expecting it's going to come out in the podcast in the next little while. It depends on how long it takes me to get through the book because it's not small. But I don't know that I even want to change any of my goals because it really is to me about continuing to embody those things and to be able to continue to deepen that. To me, it's like riding horses. It's like meditation. It's even like being with other pets and stuff. It's a practice and it's a lifelong journey. I have zero expectation of ever arriving or finishing any of this. These are all things I want to integrate, and my focus may change at different points in time, but I won't ever finish or arrive as a yogi or as someone who meditates, any of those things. There is no ending to any of this. I love how much you notice the change in even just 10 minutes. That in and of itself validates the power of doing things for short periods of time consistently. So, what's better, 10 minutes of yoga practice a day or 60 minutes once a week?
It's interesting that you say that because I was talking to my friend who's a Qigong teacher, and that's what she said. She's like, short 10-minute a day practices are great if you do them every day. If you're going to do it once a week, 45 minutes to an hour is what you need. And I had been kind of beating myself up because there's this part of me that's like, oh, I kind of want to do a yoga teacher training, but I only ever do 10 minutes of yoga a day. I do 10 minutes yoga a day. I could do an hour of yoga every Saturday, but not do yoga any of the rest of the week. And does that mean I now qualify to say that I do 1 hour of yoga? And the same with the Qigong. And it was really neat. I love that you said that because it was really neat to change that perspective. Is it better to meditate for 3 hours on Sundays and not meditate at all the rest of the week? Or if you have a short, consistent practice, and our society seems to make us feel like, well, I can't even do an hour of this thing. Maybe you don't actually need to. Maybe it's those small little things like Focus Mates has 25-minute sessions, it has 15-minute sessions, and it has 90-minute sessions. So you can do as little as 25 minutes of a Focus Mate session if that's all the time you have. You don't have to be like, oh, I don't have 90 minutes, so it's not really worth me getting focused. It's not the point. The point is finding the time that you do have and making it work within that time. Carving out that little bit of space will mean that you can carve out more space. Choosing
Yeah.
one meal a day that's healthy, even if the other 3 or 4 aren't good. Slowly by slowly, you will start to reform and change because you are being more present with an everyday consistency. I read something the other day. It's like brush your teeth with the other hand. And I like, what's that going to do? Well, it makes you really present in the moment because when you brush your teeth with the same hand, I'm right-handed. I brush my teeth with my right hand. Brushing my teeth is very much just something I do. When I'm brushing my teeth with my left hand, I'm like, okay, I am so present with brushing my
Yeah.
teeth. It's the only thing I can think about in that moment
Yeah.
because I have to focus on it or it
Yeah.
won't work.
Well, yeah, and if you like mess up, like you're liable to scrape your gum or the toothbrush will smack you or you'll do something weird and hurt yourself. Not to the point where it's a big problem, but enough that you're like, ouch, I don't want to do that again. So it requires you to pay attention. Like I love that trick and I'm never good at remembering to do it. But that first thing I had on my list is the baby steps and acknowledging the power of taking consistent small steps. I have seen this in my riding work over the years that the work that I do with my trainer is of such high quality that it is not the quantity that matters at that point. And so quality small baby steps are going to matter more than marathon sessions. Frankly, if you do 10 minutes a day, 7 days a week, that's 10 more minutes than you would get doing 1 hour once a week.
Absolutely.
So at that point,
You're winning.
those sessions are going to add up faster than trying to cram a bunch of stuff into a quote longer period of time where your body might not be prepared to handle that much focus.
Totally.
But the quality over the quantity to me is something we should put more emphasis on. It's so easy to get sucked into that like idea of, well, I don't have an hour to do yoga, so I guess I'm just not going to do it. Well, but do you have 10 minutes to do yoga? Do you have 5 minutes to do yoga? You can do several yoga positions in 5 minutes.
You can totally be to the point where you're like, how long is this 10 minutes going to be in 10 minutes? It's funny because I noticed that it doesn't matter if I do a 10-minute yoga session, I do a 20-minute yoga session, I do an hour yoga session. At 3/4 of the way through, whatever the time is, I'm done. It's not relative to how long it is. It's relative to how long I've said I'm going to do it. 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, can we be done now? And it could be a 5 minutes, exactly as you said. To finish this off, I was thinking about how this relates to biking. And a challenge I want to throw out to any bikers that are listening to this, and I'm going to get you to throw out one for your pets, just to give you ample warning here, Ginny, to come up with something.
You love surprising me.
I do. Well, it's because thoughts just drop randomly into my head. I'm very unstructured. If you're riding your bicycle, change feet. So we always ride with 1 foot forward. I'm a left foot forward. I always ride with my left foot forward. You don't change your feet when you go around corners. You ride with your left foot forward. You push into the inside foot. You push into the inside foot. So whether it's the left or the right, I snowboard left foot forward. And you could do this snowboarding as well, right? If you change the foot that you have that's in front, so next time you go for a bike ride, Jenny, remember this. So when you're cruising along and you're just in your nice flat pedals, heels down, strong core, looking ahead, do it when you're on an easy section of trail, please. Because it's going to feel like literally your crank is broken. It feels so weird. But switch feet and focus on keeping the opposite foot forward. Now, there are 100 things that this does for you. A, it gives you the ability that if your legs are tired, you can actually change feet, because that happens because you're always going the other one. So you could actually flip and feel comfortable. It doesn't take very long for it to feel comfortable. It's also really cool. I find I can drop in to a rock roll or a scary feature. If I get there and my feet are in the wrong place, I can actually drop in with my right foot forward. But my feet, by the time they will adjust during whatever it is I'm doing. So when I come out, I'm coming out strong with my left foot forward. It's absolutely fascinating. But it was cool the moment I realized that I could drop into something without being left foot forward. However, I'll always come out left foot forward. So anyway, all that to say, my suggestion to you is when you're on your bike, and if you don't ride bikes, well, Ginny will give you the pet one, but find something that actually works with whatever it is you do. What is that thing that you consistently do one way? Brush your teeth with your left hand versus your right hand. But biking, put the other foot forward and practice. See how it feels and notice how it drops you straight into the moment, because there is only one thing you can focus on when you're doing something that is different. Now, it's like when you go around a corner, one side, you're going to always feel you can corner great to the left or the right. But when you go the opposite direction, it's not the way your body spins. So you need to focus more. You need to be more present with what you're doing in order for it to work. That is just biology. All right.
I love it.
What's yours?
I love it. That's definitely wild. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out which foot is forward for me. And it might be the left, but I'm going to have to go play with it to see. Because with my left right issues, I tend to default very much one way or the other. But all the riding work I've done, I've gotten through a lot of that. So I'm curious now, because I actually can't tell you, which may mean that it's not as strong a one way or the other as it used to be, but we'll see. But I love this idea. If you have pets, or even if you don't have pets, you can probably work with this anyway, is to look at where you can take baby steps. So look at where there may be something that you have been avoiding, or something that you have wanted to work on, but you keep telling yourself, well, I can't do it because I don't have time. It's too big. It's too much. How can you break that down into some smaller steps that will give you the quality so that you can start building on it, so that you can get to where you want to be? Everything that I can think of that I regret about my relationships with my pets, my dogs who have passed, my horse, even to some extent my cats, I did not take the baby steps when I could have. And I would be in such a different place in my life and with all of my goals, with my pets included, if I had really worked on those baby steps. So where can you break things down? That might mean an extra 5-minute walk with your dog. It might mean hanging out with your cat a little bit more, or spending a little more time with them. It might mean putting the phone down instead of taking it with you on a walk. What can you do to be more present with the goals that you have and find ways to take those small steps? Even to your point of switching hands, brushing teeth, like that in and of itself, the changes that that can make in your neurology that's going on in your body is wild. And it seems like such a small thing. How long does it take to brush your teeth? Like 5 minutes, maybe?
Well, 2 minutes if you follow the timer on your phone.
Right.
Well,
By the time you like wash it off and all
yeah.
that. But that is such a small thing that sounds so insignificant, but I can tell you it's not.
Yeah.
So, how many other places can you find little tiny tweaks that you can make and play with them? See how it feels, try it on. You may have to write yourself some reminders. You might have to stick a sticky note on the bathroom mirror to remember to do it because you'll be on autopilot
Mm-hmm.
and you'll forget. And then you'll remember, like when you're putting the toothbrush away, that that was something you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, do what it takes, but look for all those places where baby steps, because the thing I love about baby steps too is they generally don't take a lot of energy. So if you're already feeling overwhelmed or you're already feeling like you have a lot going on, one baby step is not a big deal. Even 5 minutes of meditation. You'd be amazed at what 5 minutes of deciding to sit down and be still will do for you in the long run. There's no goal at that point. The mind will chatter, and that's fine. But 5 minutes of bringing yourself into stillness and presence can have a radical change. So where can you find those baby steps, whether that's with your pets, whether that's on your regular goals, or even just as simple as switching your toothbrush?
Yeah.
Like,
I am going to argue that a baby step for a baby is actually a pretty big deal and takes a lot of energy. So maybe small steps if the baby
small
step feels
steps,
a little bit too big.
tiny,
The other
tiny,
thing,
tiny, tiny, as little as you can make them is still going to have a massive impact. I promise you that.
awesome. Okay, so this has been a long one. I'm going to wrap us up and try and tell you exactly what you just heard. So we started off talking about our goals, reviewing the goals from the last 3 quarters. We looked at how far we've actually come. We grounded into the fact that we've, like you, have probably achieved a lot more than you actually thought you had. We've talked about little steps that you can take that will enable you to go a lot further. Taking an opportunity to do things slightly differently so that you are forced to ground yourself into the present moment. And so I think for us, as opposed to making big goals to finish strong and make sure that the end of the year is when we really hammer out the rest of the goals and make sure we get everything to where we wanted it to be at the beginning of the year, it's actually being very present and mindful in how we can take 10 minutes a day to do a yoga practice, or 2 minutes a day to do a meditation, or put your shoes on the wrong feet. Probably don't do that.
That gives me the heebie jeebies.
If we were going to add one thing to our sheet, it would be more present. So there's not much else that's going to be added to our goals. But in 3 months from now, the thing that we will review is, have we been more present and mindful with just taking those small steps? How can we be right here, right now? That is what we are taking into Q4 with us. And that is our finishing strong. Anything to add?
No, I love it. I think you wrapped it up perfectly.
You always say that. I'm not sure.
I do, because you do. You do such a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate
I
that.
have the like stuff in the middle and then you like tie it all together.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this rather long episode. This might be our longest episode yet. So if you've hung in this long, please send us an email and let us know what your one thing that you're going to do for Q4 is. And let us know where you're at. We would love to hear from you. You can go to writingintheweeds.com and contact us from there. Go onto our Instagram. It's at writingintheweeds. Send us a DM. Let us know what's going on for you. Or if you're not already a member of our Facebook page, we have a Facebook page, Writing in the Weeds. Go in there, join our Facebook page, and write a post. Imagine if we all went in and put down just a little comment on what are the 3 things that you are thinking about for the next 3 months. And then in 3 months' time, we'd be able to review them together. I am Natasha Lockey. I'm a life and bike performance coach. My whole idea is allowing you to see how far you've come and then really grounding into where you want to go. You can find me at Betty Go Hard on Instagram, bettygohard.com. Have not been working very well on my website, but go there anyway. And I am Natasha Lockey on Facebook and LinkedIn. We are filling up quickly with our Baja retreat, January 12th to the 17th. So if you have not checked that out, bajaadventureretreat.com. Bike, surfing, yoga, intermediate bikers to advanced bikers, surfers of all level. You can never have been in the ocean before. Well, actually, maybe know how to swim. But other than that, we will give you everything. And you don't have to be a yogi. You can come to as many or as little as the yoga sessions. But I really am now that person that's like, do some sort of retreat. Even if it's just like once a year or once a quarter, I go to a yoga class. Do something that will give you a measuring stick. Your turn, Jenny. I'll stop talking.
Yeah, I'm Ginny Branden. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. And if you are having challenges with your pet relationship or want to work on some goals and figure out how your pet feels about things, that would be a great time for a session. Or if you just want to get to know your pet better, that is also a great reason to have a session together. So you can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under the same handle, as well as also now on Substack. Again, same thing, Soul Pet Connections. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. We appreciate having you here. Take a minute and notice how far you've come, because I know you have come a long way. We look forward to seeing you again next time.
Have an amazing day, and thanks for making it this far. All right. See you later.